Coming up on the November 10th edition of Sports Extra. In the last exhibition game of the season, Carolina men's basketball showed up and showed off. Will it be the same when the games count?
Women's basketball started fast against Carson Newman. We look at what we can expect from the Lady Tar Heels.
And not a great way to start the postseason. 3 UNC teams got bumped out of their ACC tournaments. We look at what that means when the NCAA tourney rolls around. All that and more, Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
Not exactly the greatest weekend for Olympic sports. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Luis Fernandez.
And I'm Alana Albrecht. Early exits are never any fun, Luis, and this weekend there were plenty to go around. Before we get to that, though, we have updates in the fallout from the Weinstein report. Our Susanna Black joins us now live from our satellite studio to give us an update. Susanna?
Alana, former UNC football player Michael McAdoo is suing the university, claiming he and other scholarship players didn't get the education that UNC promised them. Now, McAdoo says he wanted to study criminal justice, but athletic advisors steered him into AFAM because the classes aligned better with the football schedule. Now, the former player says the lawsuit is aimed at representing scholarship football players from 1993 until 2011, the year's former federal prosecutor Kenneth Weinstein identified as the time period where fraudulent classes were taking place within the African American Studies Department. Now, the lawsuit specifically states that the university violated North Carolina's consumer protection law with unfair or deceptive acts affecting commerce. Now, that means it was the school's responsibility to student athletes to provide them with a legitimate education as a reward for their athletic services that the university profited from, and Carolina didn't hold up its end of the bargain. Now, this is McAdoo's second lawsuit against the university. The first came in 2010 when the NCAA ruled him ineligible for plagiarism. Now, in a related development, after sorting through 1,100 pages of supporting documents accompanying the Weinstein report, the Raleigh News and Observer is reporting that during the 2005 National Championship season, the UNC men's basketball team enrolled in 35 fraud classes. Now, keep in mind that there were only 15 players on the roster. Now, of those 35 class enrollments, 9 came during the fall semester of 2004 when eligibility for the spring was determined, and 26 were during the spring semester when the team was driving toward its national title. Now, that semester alone, spring of 2005, raises the question if the team was enjoying a competitive advantage simply because they didn't have to go to classes and they were promised high grades. And Alana, what it all comes down to, most importantly, is what did administrators and coaches know? When did they know it, and what should they have known?
And this is just the beginning of consequences for Carolina. Susanna Black, live from our studio. Thanks.
Joining us now is Carolina Week reporter Anissa Jabbar. Anissa, you sat down with a widely known advocate for college athletes who I'm sure has some interesting opinions on the situation.
That's right, Lewis. I sat down with ESPN analyst Jay Billis. Here's what he thinks about paper classes and Coach Roy Williams.
I have heard the NCAA president say this, that if a school offers it, you have to assume it's a good course. So why would any coach question it? I think one thing that's been really interesting, like I've known Roy Williams for a long time. I do not believe for 1 second that he had knowledge of academic fraud.
Billis says athletics should not be a reason for a professor to change the way he or she teaches a course.
Everybody's pointing fingers at athletics, and nobody on the academic side is stepping forward to say, hey, we were asleep at the wheel here. And that's very telling. You know, the NCAA system, I have always felt, has been the perfect system of non-accountability for academicians. They blame everything on athletics. Athletics cannot cause any professor to teach any differently.
Looking forward, losing a banner might not be the worst punishment Carolina could receive.
The thing that you worry about is they're going to punish the wrong people. That when you start having these prospective punishments of taking away scholarships, like why would a an organization with an academic mission take away academic opportunities? That's crazy to me.
And it continues to be a crazy situation for Carolina. Billis says there's a lot of information to process here, and it might take a year before we find out what penalties UNC is facing. We'll have more on our sister show, Carolina Week, on Wednesday.
And throughout this ordeal, waiting may just be the worst part. Anissa Jabbar, live in studio. Thanks.
Now we move on to the current players for Carolina. Let's start with men's basketball. Friday night's exhibition against Belmont Abbey was the last warm-up before the regular season, and things ran pretty smoothly for Carolina. The Heels completely dominated, scoring 82 of their 112 points in the paint, as well as out-rebounding Belmont 38-21. Carolina games should be exciting all year, especially with plays like this from JP Tokoto. Looks like his teammates really liked that one. Carolina got a big boost from bench players like sophomore Nate Britt, who scored 10 of the bench's 54 points. In the season opener, UNC will take on the North Carolina Central Eagles this Friday in the Dean Dome at 8 p.m. All right, Lewis, what really stood out to you in the exhibition game?
Honestly, I think it's something that could really translate to the regular season, movement off of the ball. Players weren't just standing around trying to, hey, I'm open. They were moving around, making sure that they got to the places they need to be. Helped bring some energy to the team. And
the passing up good shots for great shots.
Yeah, definitely. That was really good. We'll see if the success in exhibitions translates to success in real games for Carolina starting on Friday. UNC basketball is well known for producing top talent for the next level. Let's take a look at what the guys are up to in the association this season. We start off with NBA champion Danny Green, who had his best outing of the season thus far, dropping 16 points on the Pelicans Saturday night. Wayne Ellington and Ed Davis both made the jump to the West Coast this season. The duo hooks up for this huge slam by Davis. Now we stay on the West Coast with the Warriors forward Harrison and Black Falcon Barnes with a high-flying reverse jam on the baseline. The Heels have 16 alums in the NBA this season. The women's basketball team got its season started against Carson Newman, head coach Sylvia Hatchell's alma mater, but of course that wasn't the big story for the night. Hatchell returned to the sidelines for the first time since she began her battle with leukemia. Preseason All-ACC stars Alicia Gray and Stephanie Mavunga took over the game in the first half, combining for the final 15 points going into halftime. UNC freshman Jamie Cherry had that highlight of the night with a pass behind her back to Danielle Butts. The Heels were dominant throughout and won the exhibition 88-27. The team has another exhibition game tonight at 6 in Carmichael Arena. The first game of the regular season is this Friday against Howard at 4 p.m. in Carmichael as well.
Now let's go ahead and move on to football. Lewis, after an off week, Carolina is looking to pick up its third win in the ACC against Pitt.
Yeah, Atlanta, Pitt has the same record as Carolina, 4-5, but this squad presents some, let's call them challenges. James Conner, the running back, is the biggest one. He's 250 pounds and is 6 feet 2 inches tall. He's a big guy. He's had 220 carries so far for 342 yards. He really just runs through people like that, always training his legs. The Pitt offense runs through Conner. The passing game has less than 200 yards per game. So if you can stop Conner, you can stop Pitt. The problem, though, is Carolina's giving up 220 yards per game on the ground. That's 110th in the country. If Carolina fixes those missed tackles and gets off blocks, they may have a chance to pull out the win.
And it's homecoming for Carolina this weekend. It's always a big game, serves as a little extra motivation for the team. So how has UNC done? That brings us to this week's hidden stat. Carolina is 4-1 in the past 5 years against opponents on homecoming. That includes wins against Duke, William & Mary, Wake Forest, and UVA last year. The only loss was 2 years ago in a 50-68 thriller against Georgia Tech. This Carolina team has to hope that trend continues if they want to get a chance at postseason action. The Heels will need every win they can get. Let's go ahead and take a look at what UNC actually needs to become bowl eligible. 6 wins is all Carolina needs, so the magic number is 2. 2 more wins in 3 more games. Carolina has a solid chance at home against a Pitt team that is fighting to be bowl eligible as well. Then the next week, there's a Thursday night game in Durham against the number 19 Duke team. Could be pretty tricky, so it might all come down to a home game against NC State. which is 1-5 in the ACC. Either way, a loss this weekend against Pitt means Carolina would have to win out.
Last week, we had the first of a two-part series about jersey sales in college athletics. Joining us now live from the student store is Amanda Lee. Amanda, it looks like you have a special guest today.
Well, Lewis, unfortunately, it's not the real Marcus Page. It's only a cardboard cutout of him. The UNC student stores as well as Chapel Hill Sportswear both have cutouts like this sitting in their store. Unfortunately, some people have been questioning whether or not it's okay to use student athletes for advertising without compensation.
Last season, Ryan Switzer made some big plays on the field. Now, his jersey number can be found off the field too, on the shelves of Carolina apparel shops.
Going to college football games, going to NFL games, you see all the really good players and the star players, with the fans wearing their jerseys. So it's kind of like a dream come true to see, little kids and even, adults with the number 3.
UNC chooses the numbers for jerseys a year in advance. Marketing officials base their decisions on the popularity and performances of the athletes.
We approve numbers and then let Nike select based on the numbers that we've approved in order to maximize sales, because we want those funds, those royalties that come from jersey sales, to be as high as they possibly can.
The player, the number on the jersey affects the sales of that jersey.
Ashley Cerrone was excited to buy a number 3 jersey because Switzer is one of her favorite players.
Well, I felt like after last year that Ryan Switzer played so great that I was like, oh my gosh, as soon as they come out with a number 3 jersey, I have to buy it.
Cerrone, like many fans, associates the jersey number with a specific player. The NCAA has come under fire recently for using players' likenesses for profit. Some universities, like Texas A&M, have decided to stop selling numbers associated with popular players and instead sell the number 12 to represent their 12th man.
We have certainly seen that other schools have taken those steps, and we have considered it. We decided, though, that, again, because 100% of those proceeds are benefiting non-athletic scholarships, and because it's such an important source of funds for our need-based scholarship program here on campus, we decided to continue to stick with the process that I outlined a moment ago.
Jersey sales are one of the many ways universities make a profit off of student athletes, and Ryan Switzer had this to say about a topic most don't talk about: paying players.
People that, like I said, don't want us to get paid, they don't understand how much goes into being a student athlete. We're here almost 365 days. We're in the football building almost 40 hours a week. So, it's really football all the time.
More and more people are saying universities should be paying their student athletes. Things like the Northwestern football team trying to unionize and the recent ruling in the Ed O'Bannon case just add more to that argument.
If that does come about, Amanda, there are a lot of variables to think about. Do all athletes get paid, or just revenue sports? Can some schools, like private institutions, pay more and use that as a recruiting advantage? We'll see. It's a lot to figure out, but Amanda Lee, you were live in the student stores. Thank you so much for joining us. Women's soccer, men's soccer, and field hockey all started up their ACC tournaments this weekend.
And they all had early exits. What went wrong when Sports Extra returns?
Online by liking the Sports Extra Facebook page and following us on Twitter @SportsExtra_UNC.
Staring contest! You still got it. I know. Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
It was an upsetting weekend for the field hockey team. The Heels got knocked out of the ACC tournament in the semifinal round. At the start of the tourney, the Heels had a stellar game against Duke. The Blue Devils were the first to get on the scoreboard, but just 7 minutes later, the Heels tied it up with this short shot forcing overtime. 9 minutes in, Carolina's Nina Notman scored her 11th game-winning goal of the season on a penalty stroke. But the team wasn't so lucky against Syracuse. After the Orange scored, UNC made it even just 13 minutes later. Although the Heels had the lead at halftime, Syracuse tied the score and sent the game into overtime and defeated the Heels 3-2. After a stellar regular season, Carolina field hockey has earned the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. The Tar Heels will open up play on Saturday at 11:30 against the winner of a play-in game between Richmond and Liberty. UNC finished the season with 17 wins and 3 losses. Should the Heels advance, there's potential for a Tobacco Road showdown as they would play the winner of Duke and Northwestern.
It was a sad weekend for Olympic sports at UNC, including the men's soccer team. After a slow start, the Heels tried to shake things up but couldn't find the back of the net after 4 attempts. UNC played more offensively in the second half, but Louisville took advantage of open spaces, driving the ball up the field for the first goal of the game. The Carolina men kept attacking from the inside, but couldn't break through the Cardinal defense. Louisville outlasted the Heels, winning the game 1-0 and knocking the Heels out of the ACC quarterfinals. The #5 ranked women's soccer team fell to #4 ranked Virginia in the ACC tournament in Greensboro. UVA didn't waste any time getting on the board in the 16th minute with this shot. Just 12 minutes later, the Cavaliers added to their lead, making the score 2-0. Although the Heels were able to use 23 of their players in the game, they failed to overcome the talented Virginia team. Virginia's defense held strong and had its 3rd straight shutout win of the season, beating the Heels 2-0.
It wasn't a fun night for the women's soccer team. It was actually a historic low, which brings us to this week's Hidden Stat, Part 2. Virginia's 2-0 defeat of the Tar Heels on Friday was only the 3rd time in the past 716 games that the team has lost by more than 1 goal. The other 2 teams to do it were Notre Dame in 2010 and Virginia last season.
The NCAA has just released the women's soccer playoff bracket. The Heels will have a tough road, trying for their 23rd national title. Carolina was given the #2 seed and will play South Dakota State this Friday, 5:30 on Fetzer Field. Injuries can be devastating, especially during the last season of an athlete's career. The captain of Carolina's women's soccer team told me about the impact of her injury.
Fielder and team captain Brooke Elby went from saving games to standing on the sidelines.
I think the minute I got hit, I knew.
It happened 7 minutes in against NC State.
So I stuck my leg out to keep her from just like shooting the ball out towards our defense. But the way my foot was extended, the way I planted, and the way she hit me, just all combined for a fun little popping noise that kind of sticks in my mind still.
That sound was her ACL tearing.
It was a season-ending injury, and I just think from there, my heart broke.
She missed the redshirt cutoff by 2 games, but gained something from her lost season.
Like, I guess I would never know the impact I made until I was injured.
Head coach Anson Doran says Elby set the tone for this season.
I attribute a lot of that to Brooke Elby, to the standard that she set before she got hurt, to the leadership she still demonstrates with her teammates, and I'm incredibly proud of her.
On senior night, it was Elby who started the match. She surprised her team and finished her career on the field despite the injury. Fellow senior Satara Murray has dedicated the season to Elby.
I want to win a national championship for my best friend. That's all I want to do. I personally think she deserves to go out as a winner this year.
Regardless of the season's outcome, Elby feels like she's already won.
Obviously, it didn't go the way I planned, but it's probably been one of the most fun years that I've been here, and I wouldn't trade, I guess, my injury for anything.
It will be 6 months until Elby takes the field again, but the long recovery won't stop her from playing in a league. She wants to go pro in Australia next fall. The sports media world is booming.
We look at how students can jump right onto their favorite team when Sports Extra returns.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids. This isn't a drill.
Please.
Please, do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
The number 8 Carolina volleyball team took home a victory against the Virginia Tech Hokies Sunday afternoon. Junior Paige Neuenfeld led the Heels with kills like this one. The team struggled in the first set, but key blocks kept the Heels in it late. Late in set 1, Virginia Tech took the lead, but UNC responded with blocks from Victoria McPherson and Lee Andrew just like that. The team came back in the third set full force with spikes like this from Haley McCorkle. Carolina grabbed its largest lead in the third set, and on this match-winning play, senior Lauren McAdoo spiked the winner. The Heels take the match 3-0.
The cross-country teams competed at the Adidas three-stripe invite on Saturday. Mitch McLeod and Jill Hardees led the men's and women's team. McLeod finished second at 15:04.19. Hardees was the top finisher for the women with a time of 18:28.98, snagging 8th place. The Heels head to Louisville next week to compete in the NCAA Southeast Regional.
Most college students want to make as many connections as possible before graduation. Brett Thompson takes us inside an event that provides that opportunity for those interested in the business of athletics.
It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's who you know on a favorable basis. This is the mantra of the Carolina Sport Business Club, the hosts of a career fair and sports business expo at the Blue Zone in Kenan Stadium. The event started with a keynote speaker at 9 a.m., turned into a Q&A session with panelists from the professional and collegiate sports world, and now behind me is the career fair, where students look to engage with employers about potential jobs or internships next summer.
And the idea is for students who are interested in having a career in the sport industry that they can come out and actually have their own, they can build it and also participate in their own career conference.
The career conference featured a variety of booths ranging from the New York Mets to the Charlotte Hornets to even Team USA. Students visited these booths to shake hands with potential employers, hoping to establish a favorable connection for the future.
For the most part, it's just a chance to get your name out there and get some information from some top companies, learn what they're looking for, what they like to see in students, so you can kind of mold your experiences to be preferable to those companies.
Of course, an event like this doesn't take place without the hard work of members of the Carolina Sport Business Club.
A lot of meetings, a lot of research, a lot of emails and phone calls, and the big part is teamwork.
Hard work is something these students will become accustomed to as they further their careers in the sports world. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brett Thompson reporting.
You can view the tweets from the expo on Twitter via the hashtag CSFE2014.
It was a sink or swim weekend for the swimming and diving teams. While the UNC women's team finished on top, Louisville drowned the men's team. Jack Nyquist had a standout performance for the men's diving team with first place finishes in the 1 meter and 3 meter events, but it wasn't enough to clip the Cardinals' wings. Louisville won 220 to 133. The women soared against the Cardinals, led by freshman Alyssa Dawson, who also swept the diving events. The Heels took down Louisville 194-159. Next up, the Heels stay home for the Nike Cup. Intensity, speed, and strength.
Nope, it's not a new Larry Fedora catchphrase. When Sports Extra returns, we look at the Carolina CrossFit community.
Don't forget to tune in to our sister shows, Carolina Week at 5 p.m. every Wednesday on Time Warner 24 or Campus Channel 34, and Carolina Connection at 8:30 every Saturday morning on WCHL 97.9 FM.
The great outside. My new mom and I have a lot in common. So shiny. We both love the outdoors. That's not a flower. And she knows a lot about wildlife. A labradoodle.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic. That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. And every day, more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. Learn more at hsf.net.
This weekend, students from across the Triangle came to CrossFit Local to compete in the 4th annual Tar Heel Challenge.
For these athletes, it's all about pushing their limits. Kayla Gibson has the story.
Fast, supportive, and community.
That's how senior Chase LaRue describes CrossFit, an emerging sport that's taking working out to the extreme. This weekend, LaRue participated in CrossFit UNC's Tar Heel Challenge.
It's also a great resource to be able to see how much progress we've made doing CrossFit and really see where we stand with our friends and have a fun, good time.
CrossFit UNC co-president Bobby Nicholson says the challenge is all about bringing people together.
Among collegiate athletes, it's very small and it's tight-knit, and so we're trying to bring people across universities together.
Nicholson says more than 20 collegiate athletes from across the Triangle came to Chapel Hill's CrossFit Local to compete. In a number of different events, they earned scores based on their rank, such as this one.
We just did a horrible combination of classic conditioning workout. The idea was to get the lungs fired up and to see basically how hard we could push with light weight. And then right after that, we had sort of an odd object. Let's see how this fitness can be applied to something that's somewhat useful.
But for LaRue, it's about more than competition.
We're all doing the same workout. We're all facing the same, struggles, whether it's, doing your best, getting your own personal record and things like that. But it's also knowing that when we're done, that all these people are also going to be here.
And it's the support that makes the Tar Heel Challenge one that these athletes can reach. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kayla Gibson, reporting.
Alana, have you ever done CrossFit?
I went a few times last year, and it really was a challenge.
Yeah, I'm more of like a running guy myself. I do yoga every now and then, but I mean CrossFit, some of the stuff they were doing where they had the bar and they were like lifting at all the weird angles, I don't know if that's for me.
I don't think I could do that.
Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Good night, thanks for watching.